Welcome to Is It Healthy, a podcast from Healthiest Radio. Our aim with this podcast is to bring all the latest news on natural, healthy, and sustainable products. We want to answer that basic question that we ask all the time. Is it healthy? We are highlighting the healthiest approved brands and experts that we hope you will all get to know.
Hi, we are so excited today to be talking to Melissa Gunning, and she's the founder and CEO of Wean Green. And if you don't already know about this amazing brand, we have been working in food storage, sort of groundbreaking work. And a lot of you may have used food storage, I imagine, in your lifetime. So it's great to know about the brands that are really groundbreaking and really thinking about the environment when they build their products. So Melissa, thank you so much for allowing us to talk with you this morning.
I'm excited.
Awesome. Well, I guess the first thing I just wanted you to do is just maybe tell a little bit about how you got started and, you know, what made you want to change careers and what was your first career and get this started?
Well, if anybody has ever seen any of our office or anything, they'll know immediately that my first career was an elementary school teacher. Everything was so color-coded and organized. But now we started Wean Green 10 years ago, and it's so amazing the difference from 10 years ago till now when people looking for healthier solutions. But at the time, we started it just for baby food. So we had the 4-ounce size, and that was it. We had no other sizes. We had no real business strategy or anything to go further. We just knew that all the baby food storage that was on the market for homemade baby food was just plastics and stainless steel, which doesn't have everything that we need, all the qualities. So that's why we started.
And did you have babies at the time? Was that motivating by?
Yeah, well, I had a 6-year-old and a newborn baby. So I was actually on maternity leave from being a teacher when I started the company. And then I was also living in Canada. So I extended my maternity leave and finally ended up giving my notice as a teacher when Wean Green was just really developed into something bigger.
That's so great. So when did you start the company in Canada?
I did. I started it in my tiny little 600 square foot house.
And are you Canadian originally?
I am originally Canadian.
I'm jealous. I want to be, especially in these times. I would like to be from another country.
I'll bring you, if I go home, I'll bring you with me.
So describe to me when you say, like, how did you figure out what was wrong with using plastics, which I'm sure a lot of people now know more about BPA, et cetera, but even stainless, like why glass and what did you discover? How did you figure that out?
Oh my gosh, that's a whole podcast, but I'll try and shorten it down. So at the time, it was 2008, and in Canada in 2008 is when they banned BPA out of baby products. So I had that knowledge already going. You know, there was a lot more education, and with Canada banning BPA for baby products, I was like, well, if they ban BPA, what are they going to replace it with? Because we know that BPA is an important piece of the plastic puzzle. So I found out that they replace it with up to 40 different chemicals that have this, they mimic the same estrogen blockers as everything else. Sorry, it's the BPA. So, so the plastic that's out there that was BPA free, I knew it was still had minimum 40 other chemicals that were required to make the actual container.
It's so interesting you should say that, because I was at a conference recently speaking, and one of the brands said, well, how can we keep up with your standards if you're constantly adding, we have a list of 1,500 chemicals and ingredients. And I said, it's not that we're adding them. It's that the industry's adding them. We're just trying to keep up, which, you know, that's your point. You had to keep up with this.
Right. And at the time, as a mom of 2 and just a consumer, I had nothing to do with the consumer packaged goods industry. I was just a consumer, and I trusted everybody to be making those decisions for me and to be making the healthiest option and only provide me with things that were good for my family. So I think as the education grew, that I was being exposed to so much more chemicals than I thought were even allowed. I was really baffled and blown away by that. And so with the research that I did, and I partnered with some great universities in glass research, I just found that glass is the safest food storage option for all of our food, not just for our baby food, but for our as well, right? And you're spending so much money on organic food to puree into a little 4-ounce container. You don't want a contaminate it with other chemicals and ingredients. So it was just
so when you picked glass, and was there a difference between the types of glass that you could work with?
Definitely. And I love that you asked that, because that's what we're trying to explain right now. Our glass, it's called tempered glass, which basically means that it is stronger than your drinking glass. It's about 5 times stronger than a drinking glass. So if you accidentally drop it from, say, a high chair, the chances of it breaking are very unlikely. So it can be frozen, which regular glass can't. Actually, I have to throw this out there. It's something that I learned when I was researching at the very beginning was if you freeze like regular glass, something like a commercial baby food container that you just buy at the store and then clean out, if you freeze that, it will microscopically chip back out into your food, which I had no idea.
Oh, so like it's not like the end consumer would actually know that this had happened.
No, and I had done it a million times, right? Like you buy a jam jar or whatever, you're like, this is great, I'm going to reuse it. And then I found out you can reuse it, but you can't freeze it and you can't heat it. It can only go in your fridge. So then I was like, well, we need something that can be frozen, something that can be reheated, something that's not going to leach. So tempered glass was the best option that we have. And it's still the best for food storage. There's nothing better than it.
And so for example, if I were to buy a Pyrex today, like the glass Pyrex, that's not tempered glass?
No, most of the Pyrex is funny, actually. There's a few different types of glass that they use. There's another glass, which everybody should know, I think the difference between this two. So there's another glass out there called borosilicate. And borosilicate is good for temperature change, but it's not good for dropping. So it's not as durable as tempered glass. Tempered glass is what your windshield and your shower door, that's what that's made out of. And borosilicate is what we use for like scientific beakers and things like that. So Pyrex is okay.
But could microscopic pieces of glass still get into your food or no? Not
with borosilicate or tempered. Those are your two that you can freeze and reheat. And then the only one that you should really be dropping is tempered. Well, don't drop any, but if you know it's going to go on the go.
Right. I was going to say, if you can tell your kid or when you're a frazzled mom.
Right. And you don't want to give your kid borosilicate glass to take to school because it's going to be thrown around. So that's why we like the tempered glass.
Right. And then what about recyclable or recycled glass versus non-recycled glass? Did you have to do research into that?
I'm loving this educational piece. I never get to talk about this stuff. So all glass is actually made out of one of the main ingredients is recycled glass.
Gotcha.
So it's actually really funny to me, when I find another glass company and they're like, recycled glass. I'm like, of course it is.
Right.
That's how you make glass. And the other great thing about glass is that it's infinitely recyclable. So if you ever break any glass, just make sure you put it into the recycling because it'll be made into something new.
Right. And so for example, mason jars, like you were saying, jam jars, things like that, those are not made out of tempered glass.
Some of them are now. And it's funny. Like I just remember when I was little, how when people were making jam, they always boiled the jars first, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that obviously would be a problem if it was not tempered glass.
Gotcha.
So some of them are now. I think you can normally check, and the brand names normally are. The stuff that you buy at, the dollar store probably aren't.
Right. So tell me, so you started this 10 years ago, yes. And you're, in your small house, and you've got 2 kids. And what did you expect? What were you trying to accomplish? Did you think I'm just going to do this for a little while, or did you think I'm going to grow a huge brand? Like, what was your vision?
I was so naive. I think I still am. 10 years in, I'm still naive. My original goal was to sell to the Canadian baby stores. So honestly, that's like 10 stores. It's not very many. And I thought I would go back to teaching, and this would be a side gig. And within the first 6 months, one of my friends that worked at Toys R Us in Canada had connected it with a buyer there, and that buyer sent it to their headquarters in New Jersey. And I got a call from the Toys R Us buyer in New Jersey.
Wow.
Yeah. So then I was like, oh, maybe it's not a hobby. And then I had to learn about how to write business plans and strategy.
And did you raise any money did you need capital to keep it going?
Not at that time. I actually had some savings that I was able to use, which, you look at it both ways. Both ways are super stressful. I do have a great investor that I work with now that's also from this industry. So it's been really exciting to bring that in, but that wasn't until about 8 years later that we had him come in. So I had to figure out how to do everything.
Strapped.
Yeah.
And did you have a hard time finding like manufacturers or sourcing, or was it hard for you to find these raw materials?
Yes, so it definitely was hard. Tempered glass is something that is a difficult thing to manufacture and test. So we bought about 20 microwaves, which I had never owned before, and set them up outside in our little shed. And we got samples from as many glass factories around the world as we could. And one of the things that we would do to test them, because we knew they would be doing it in the third-party testing, is we would try and see how long it took to blow the glass up in the microwave.
Oh
so
my God.
we had about, we blew up 20 microwaves in the end. So it was very interesting, the testing for it. And then we narrowed it down that way because to pay for third-party testing is really expensive. So you can't just send 20 samples there. Right? You have to narrow down your factories. And I found glass is really, really hard because if you don't manufacture glass properly, it will explode. Like glass is a tough thing to work with. So I'm thankful that we have the number one tempered glass factory in the world. That's who we work with now. And our relationship with them is amazing.
That's so great. And where are they in the world?
They're in South Korea.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting because a lot of brands that I've worked with, or even entrepreneurs, they say like, we're just made in America. We're made in America. And actually what I've heard from a lot of import-export experts is that there are factories all over the world that are really, really high quality, but you can't get a high quality product from a low quality factory. And a high quality factory won't change their standards. So it's like finding a needle in a haystack. You just have to make sure you find that factory, and that it's not really just about the US. It's really around, because there are tons in China and in parts of Asia that really are good. So that's interesting. And what about, they do, if listeners haven't seen the products, they do have a plastic top. How did you come up with that? And most do. And, and what was your feeling about like how that would all work and where you source that plastic from?
Sure. Well, it's funny that you asked because we tried so hard. We tried so many other materials and we realized, if we want this to be an on-the-go solution, we had to do the plastic top until we could develop something different. So that's why we have to defend our plastic. But thankfully, our plastic is number 5, which is polypropylene with no BPA, no PVCs, no phthalates. So everything in our plastic is good for your food storage. So it shouldn't, because it's on the lid, nothing's ever going to sit on the lid and just be exposed constantly. So it's fine if it's just touching. Which actually, really quick too, another thing that I learned about plastics was when they say microwave safe, that just means that they're safe. They won't wreck in the microwave. It means nothing about your food. So anyway, they're microwave safe.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
nothing.
The polypropylene I know is a better material. And so even in the research that we've done around products,
I would say polypropylene is definitely the best for anything food storage or food related.
And have you found, you started 10 years ago, you couldn't find something on the market. Have you found now that there are more competitors? Are you seeing like traditional brands maybe come out with similar products, or is there any kind of copycat going on?
Definitely. And one of the things that's frustrated me with that is that a lot of people will launch a different type of glass and then the consumer will have the glass break and be like, oh, I'm never using glass again.
Right.
Which is really frustrating. But when we started, people didn't want glass at all. So I guess it's exciting that we're seeing this trend where more companies are introducing it. I just wish that more companies would introduce tempered glass instead of other types of glass.
Well, that happens in all parts of, I think, the natural sort of space. We find that a lot with like supplements, for example, an omega oil, and it's not from the right source of fish, or it's not tested, it's full of contaminants, it's not shelf stable. And then consumers are like, well, it didn't really impact my heart health at all. It's like, well, it wasn't a high quality. And that's the whole point, honestly, of Healthiest is how do we weed through the noise of all the marketing messages that say it's nearly impossible for a consumer to know just by looking at the label, especially as we're talking about sourcing and how you know that the glass you're sourcing or things like that. So
what I kind of recommend people to do is, using the glass as an example, is look at the company. So the competitors that we have on the market, are they making a plastic food storage and a glass food storage? Is the glass just because they saw a market opportunity to make money? Or are they like us, where we're glass experts? We know what we need to know about glass. We're passionate about glass and the environment, because that's two very different brands. When you're presented with those options, and it's the same for anything. It's the same for clothing, for bags, like everything you look at, just look at the brand and the company first. And it is so important to understand that they know what they're doing.
Yeah. And so has there been any like bumps in the road or challenges or?
How many times I cry in a day?
Right. I mean, and believe me, I'm an entrepreneur. I work with a lot of other entrepreneurs, and it's actually funny. I know that there's scars that we all get and have, and we're supposed to, but when you get them, could be any part of the process. It's like, oh, right. I mean, it took Nike 10 years until they were even called Nike. So we're in good company. But I was just wondering if it's been kind of smooth for you, or if there's things that come up that you didn't expect.
Definitely not smooth. Definitely a lot of learning. And in the end, I got and I don't have an MBA, by the way, but I feel like I do.
Yeah, exactly.
By all the money that I've lost by learning.
Right.
So there's just so many things. I don't even know where to start on it. We had a factory at the beginning that didn't work, which was devastating, because it was, most of our savings was in the company at that point, and
right.
It didn't work out. We had to make a decision really quickly, which I guess is the one thing that I've learned too, is don't dwell on your decision making. Just get it done, get it out of the way. It's sometimes a little more confrontational than I would like.
Right. Well, it's funny you should say that, because I worked in this, we had a shared office space, and there was this huge poster, and it said "Done is better than perfect." And it's kind of like, just get it done and you'll learn from it, and then you move on, because the decisions are, time is not your friend when you're an entrepreneur, because you're either running out of money or running out of time. And so
exactly. And running out of money has probably been the most stressful. Like, we run out of money every day.
Yeah. I mean, because keeping inventory and predicting, and of course. And so where is the company now? What sort of, how many stores are you in? Where can people find it?
Oh my gosh. I'm trying to think, like, it's so funny because we've been through some ups and downs in the recent years. We've moved from Canada down to Southern California, which is great because I live in the ocean. So we've changed a little bit. In Canada, we do still sell to the natural grocery market and juvenile industry. And there's actually still Toys R Us in Canada too. So we sell to Toys R Us up there. Down in the US, we sell to stores like the Container Store, Bed Bath & Beyond is a great place, Amazon. And then we sell to some natural grocery stores still. So we'll continue to grow that list, but we sell to Mom's Organic Market. I'm just looking around to see what I can read for retailers.
Yeah. And what do you sell online? And is that how well does that business work for you?
Yeah, we do sell online. We actually just launched our online store at the end of 2018. So we're pretty new to it and it's exciting. All of our phones are set so that when an order comes in online, we hear the cha-ching sound. So if you want to order online, please do, because we all love that sound.
And I mean, are you selling on other e-tailers as well, like Target or Amazon, Walmart?
Yeah, I think we're listed on pretty much all of them for online. Yeah, I would say go to Amazon because that's the listings that we have a little bit more control over.
Yeah.
So that's the one that I like for online.
Yeah. I mean, I love your products. And do you have any new, like, what's on the horizon for other products?
If anybody knows anything about Wean Green, they're already going to know this. We've been trying to do a divided container. We call it a duo. So it's got a glass divider in the middle. But we're still working on QC to make sure that we can get the breakage down. So we really want to get that out for consumers. We're looking at more non-plastic options. So how to go completely plastic free is exciting to us. So we've been exploring that. And our whole focus right now is portable lunches on the go, and for adults and children.
Well, it's funny. I take my lunch every day to work, so I'm the first person to always, I've moved to glass, and it's one of those things too, because there's so many parts of your house that you're trying to green, and you're trying to, you forget that, oh, well, so and so has a plastic, I'll just keep it in my house, but you almost have to constantly refresh and think about all the products that you're using around your whole house, which we hope that our extension, our Chrome app, helps people easily find those products. But it takes a while to completely redo your house that way. And
education is still, right? Like, I love that Healthiest You Can Go for that education, because it's still so piecey. So I love that it's in one place and you can go in there and you can find it, because really it's been word of mouth for me to find out more about plastics at the beginning. So it's nice that you guys have that in one platform.
Yeah, I mean, we really are trying to. I think that there's no way for consumers to really understand just reading a label. I've said that before. It takes us a while to learn in each vertical, and I say vertical in terms of different sectors. What's true for grocery, what's true for pets, what's true for household goods, is what are the questions we need to ask the brands. And I actually, when I was out pitching the business, I had a couple investors ask, well, aren't you going to have a hard time finding the brands? And I was like, no, there's tons of great brands, but there's also a lot of brands that don't meet the standard. So it's just taking that filter and really, asking the right questions. So you guys, where will you feel like, wow, I really did this and I'm so proud of myself? Is there an end point for you, or do you just want to keep going and keep running the business?
It's so funny, as I'm sure you can probably relate to this too, but as an entrepreneur, when something good happens, you're like, okay, great, next.
Yeah,
next.
Totally.
Right? So Southern California was definitely a huge dream of mine, coming from Canada down here. I've been here for about a year and a half. And now I'm like, okay, next, green card, next. Like,
yeah.
It's kind of, that's where the personal goals have been. And then within the business, we want to keep growing and providing more options and more education. And that's kind of the goal for right now.
That's so great. Well, I really appreciate your time, Melissa. I love the business. And you're right. Part of it is the business and supporting what you guys are doing and just getting these containers into all the homes. And also it's about continually educating. I think there's a lot of consumers, I would be willing to bet, that that use the word glass and feel like they're done. And so it's really important that you've identified what type of glass and the manufacturing. And I wish you so much luck. I hope that the next time we talk, you're like, oh my God, we're bursting at the seams. I've had to hire 17 more people or whatever it is.
Sounds good.
Well, thank you again. And I really look forward to seeing you probably at one of the Natural Products Expos.
Definitely,
or Baby
we'll be there.
Okay, awesome. Congratulations on your move, and thank you again.
So thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to the Is It Healthy podcast. Be sure to visit healthiest.io to join the conversation, access show notes, and download our free browser extension that helps you find all the healthiest approved products while you shop.